on step 10, optional closures, and this is the second choice, and that would be creating a button closure. This is probably my favorite one. I can't tell you why I like it, but I do. I've used it a lot on this type of a pouch type or trifold type wallet situation. So we were finished to here. We put on the ribbon. Again, if you end up not wanting to use a ribbon, you're just going to tuck it inside. And from that package of 4 buttons and elastic that was left over, here's what I've selected. I'm going to use the yellow gold hair elastic, the small yellow button on the front, and this kind of orangey brown button on the back. So the first step that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and return to my yellow green thread. You could double this, or since it's 2 strands already, I'm just going to use it as is because that's what I've got prepared. Identify where the center of your pouch is, the center of the oval flap. I'm guessing mine is just about even with this little cross stitch portion of the flip-flop. Same terminology again. I'm going to try to bury my knot up under this blanket somehow so that it doesn't show, and I'm going to come up for the first time about right there. I've pulled it and it's gone, but it's secure, so that's a good thing. This button happens to have 4 holes. I hope you can see that. I'm going to go from the back of the button, the flat side. Notice that it's also a different color on the back side, to the front through one of those holes. And then you can decide, do I, again with that thread, am I going to stitch it straight across, or am I going to stitch it at an X? I'm going to go ahead and stitch it at an X. So I'm going to go in at its, so I went in at about 5 o'clock. I'm going to go, I went up at 5 o'clock. I'm going to go down at 11. Because it's a button, and again, it's going to get a lot, if you actually use it for this type of closure, it's going to get a lot of pressure on it. I'm probably this time, I'm going to actually stitch right through to the back. I just think it's going to be smarter in this case to hold it really secure. Don't pull it super tight, but tight enough that it's not floppy. And I'm going to go back in at 5 o'clock down here and over to 11. That's my second stitch on the button, and I'm going to do a third one back in at 5 o'clock and then back down from front to back at 11. Then on the back side, I'm going to just come straight down, straight from there, and I'm going to try to catch the button that's now at about the 7 o'clock position, the hole I mean. And you might have to stab around for it, but there it is. There's a front, and I'm going to do that 3 times. So I came up at 7, I'm going to go back in at about 2, and I'm going to do that 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now if you were mending a shirt or something, that would be a technique for sewing on a button, and that would be awesome. And then on the wrong side, you would tie a knot. So I'm going to take a bite of the thread, pull up that little circle, put my needle back through the circle and pull, and that's a knot. Don't cut the thread at this point. I actually want you to come back to the front between the blanket and the button, and you'll find out why in just a minute. So I still want this, and I'm going to do that with it. Okay, I'm going to take this hair elastic, and you notice that it's glued, factory glued right there. I'm going to tuck that part at about 12 o'clock, hopefully, up under my button. So I got to pull it. I'm going to pull. See how it just sneaks right up under the button and hangs there as a loop? Okay, so one of the properties about cotton I forgot to tell you about is, if I remember my education correctly, cotton is the only fiber that when wet, it gets stronger. Most fibers, when they're wet, get weaker and damage can happen to them, but cotton gets stronger. So hence the cotton ball over here that I dampen and kind of run across my threads as I'm trying to thread. So back to this, I've slipped that hair elastic behind the button, and I don't want to stretch it much, but I do want to kind of pull it tight. I'm going to change my position like this, and I'm going to pull it tight, and with my threads I'm just going to wrap it around a couple of times. So because if I don't, it's going to slip off, and that's why I want you to keep it threaded and kind of do this. I'm going to go around a second time, haven't stitched anything yet, and maybe a third time. All right, and then so you can see my hair elastic is under the tiny button. It's left me a big enough loop to go over a larger button on the back side. I've wrapped my thread 3 times to make sure that my hair elastic is hopefully going to stay on. And then I'm going to stitch right through those 3 wraps I did to the wrong side of your flap. And I'm probably going to go from back to front one more time. And I'm really just jumping over. I'm coming up between the hair elastic and going down at the other side of the hair elastic and trying to kind of end up where my knots were from the button sewing. So he's on there pretty good. I'm going to tie another knot right here. Draw it up, put my needle through. If your thread gets too short, you can go in backwards. So let me show you that again. So I went through, and rather than turn around and risk unthreading my needle, I'm going to just go right through that way. And both work. And then I'm going to just bury that. I've knotted it twice. I think that's plenty secure enough. And I'm just going to weave through the blanket. Again, it's quite thick. As long as I don't see it from the right side, I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to clip my threads way over here. So that's half of your button closure, applying the hair elastic to the button. And you could put any size button, but notice if I had chosen the big one, it would cover part of the flip-flop, and to me, that's not the look that I'm after. All right, so then I'm going to tri-fold that again back to its finished position. And this will move a little bit. You can kind of coax it. I'm going to just kind of follow it around to the back, and this is where you can use the mechanical pencil I put in your kit if you bought the Floss and Ocean kit, or you can just use a pin. And I know my button should go slightly above that because I want to be able to stretch it up and over the button. So watch that again. I have it stitched securely here. I'm just kind of coaxing it around flat to the back, and I'm putting my mark for where the button goes right outside the hair elastic loop. That's where I want this next button to go. And then eyeball your position. Make sure that it's halfway between here and here. I've done this so long that I will oftentimes just kind of guess because my eye can see measurement pretty well. But if you want to be sure it's centered, then you need to get out your ruler and put a little pencil mark right there where the pin is so that you know where your button goes. But it's really basically the same. Now this button has 2 holes. And so again, bury your thread up under the button, and you're going to go around, somewhere between 3 and 6 times, maybe 6 on this bigger button. Then put your needle back between the button and the blanket and tie a knot up under there and do the closure. And since I had to redo it this time, I've got 2 strands of floss. I'm going to put those 2 together and double it. The loop is up here, and my knot's going to go down here. And use that to stitch this button on, because this one's going to get a lot more pressure on it than the front one will. So that's another good question that I probably should have answered early on. Why do we use multiple strands of embroidery floss? The tougher it is, the easier it will survive your project. The more layers of thread you have. So we usually, although you can stitch with 1, we usually do choose 2, 3, or 4 layers. So I'm going to hide my knot up under where the button's going to go. I'm going to come out through one of the holes. I'm going to turn this way. And I'm going to go back in the other one. And it's okay if my button dangles for a minute. I'm going back through that one. And I'm going to go in where my knot is, or near it, and out where the other thread was, and pull that tight. And then I'm going to look at it, make sure it didn't twist up under there. It wants to. So it should look like that. It should look like a thread that's gone through the button and back down. I'm going to pull that tight. I'm going to go up through the hole, down through the hole. I'm going to bite some of the blanket, some of our sand blanket. I'm going to be sure, see it's puffy, I can puff it back. Be sure I didn't sew my two sides together. That would not be a plan. And then I'm going to do one more stitch. So I've stitched it on 3 times. Again, if you want to go 4 or 5, that would absolutely be fine. Then I'm just going to kind of pick the button up a little bit. You can see it kind of looks like a thread mess under here, and that's okay. I'm going to take a bite through the blanket, let that circle draw up, put my needle back through this circle, and pull tight. There's one knot. I'm going to do that again. Again, because there's a lot of pressure on this, pull my circle up, put my needle back through that loop, pull tight, and then I'm going to bury that thread in between my blanket. I'm going to peek in here and make sure I can't see it, and I can't. So I'm going to come out, and I'm going to grab my scissors, and don't cut your blanket. You can pull on it a little bit, clip it, let go, and it just kind of retracts back into the blanket. And so there's my closure. It leaps up and over, and it holds. A lot of times you'll see this type of closure on a journal as well if you're into journal making. So there you have it. So we did 2 types of optional finish for your fun pouch: a wristlet with a ribbon, and or a button closure with a small button and the elastic looped tiny at the front, and the larger loop that, again, when it's free, it looks like that. When you have it secured, it just jumps over the button and it holds it perfectly. So that holds it closed. So in that case, you could put sunglasses, or probably not coins. I think we still have too much looseness up here, but maybe dollar bills. You could put your threads in it. You could put your needles. You could put some of the other, excuse me, notions that are in your Floss and Notions kit. So again, congratulations if you've chosen to get this far. One last video on the fun pouch. If someone has chosen to create it as a sign instead of a pouch, I just want to talk through some finishing on that. Hope to see you soon in a Zoom meetup, and thank you for your participation in our Fun in the Sun summer camp Stay at Home and Stitch with Laura Bosma, Pretty Penny Precuts, and the Southeastern Quilt and Textile Museum. Again, be proud of your work. I hope you'll go back and post some pictures. Thank you for joining us.